Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation in Spain, day 164 of the current situation, and today it's all about some more restrictions that have been brought in some autonomous communities in Spain, and we'll have a look at some of those in a minute. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as always. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a small donation. You can see your names here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support as always. Now, let's get into some of the news that has caught my attention. And as I said, a couple of autonomous communities in Spain have decided to increase the restrictions in order to get the health situation under control. We can see here that the health department has communicated almost 20,000 cases since Friday and believes that Madrid must take drastic measures. Each autonomous community is facing the second wave of the coronavirus in a different way. There is no single command to face the situation caused by the new coronavirus infections. Madrid, Catalonia or Aragon are the regions most affected by outbreaks. Since Friday, Spain has added 20,000 new infections, and the Chief Health Officer Fernando Simón has just warned that if Madrid does not improve, we would have to take drastic measures, but he doesn't specify which measures they will be. So Madrid again shaping up to be the key piece in the jigsaw as to how the coronavirus health situation is handled in Spain. And as we just saw, Mr. Simón coming out there and saying that if the situation doesn't improve in Madrid, drastic measures are going to be needed to be taken. Now, as I said before, in some autonomous communities, more restrictions have been added to the list. We can see here that in Murcia, they are not allowing social gatherings of more than 6 people. Catalonia has restricted gatherings to 10 people. And in Madrid, they're asking that social gatherings be avoided. So reducing the amount of people that can meet and gather in the same place at the same time seems to be the way that the regions in Spain are dealing with the crisis now. And in Madrid, as we saw, they're asking people not to get together with friends and family unless it's absolutely necessary. Now let's have a look at the health situation in Spain. We'll take a look here at the graphics provided by the El Confidencial newspaper, and we can see on the graph that spike of 20,000 cases that were reported over the weekend. And we'll have a look at the figures for the last 7 days, so we can see that infections are up 9.7%, hospitalizations are down 11.8%, and deaths are down 23.2% on last week's figures. And if we take a look here at the map of the accumulated cases in the last 14 days per 100,000 inhabitants, we can see that Castilla-La Mancha has now gone into the dark blue color, joining the majority of autonomous communities in central and northern Spain. Now, there's been a lot of criticism of the central government in recent times, criticism of Mr. Sánchez and his government, people accusing them of passing the problem to the autonomous community and not standing up to the problems that they are facing at the moment. However, Pedro Sánchez has announced an institutional appearance after the Council of Ministers. The president will presumably address the situation of the pandemic in Spain and the growing outbreaks. The president of the government, Pedro Sánchez, plans to make an institutional appearance this Tuesday and a subsequent press conference after presiding over the first Council of Ministers after the summer holidays held in La Moncloa. So the Prime Minister there has finally decided that the time is right to address the nation, and a lot of people will be waiting to see what he has to say on the current situation and what are some of the plans going forward, because that's what people want to know. People want to have a clear path. People want to have a clear idea of what's going on and what the government plans to do in the future. Now, La Vanguardia newspaper had a poll open yesterday to its readers, asking the question if they were worried or not about the advance of the coronavirus. 83.37% of their viewers said yes, and 16.63% said no. So the vast majority of readers of that particular newspaper worried about the advance of the health situation in Spain. Now, a lot of the worries that people have could relate to the possibility of future confinements and lockdowns. A headline that caught my attention today reads, "Spain warned of dire impact of second coronavirus lockdown. Businesses and psychologists say the country is still reeling from its earlier confinement." As officials across Spain wrestle with a surge in coronavirus cases, a chorus of voices is warning that another lockdown could have dire consequences for a country that just months ago emerged from one of Europe's strictest confinements. As public health experts say the country is at a critical moment, the associations representing businesses across Spain have warned that their members continue to reel from a lockdown that ground the economy to a halt and triggered one of the deepest recessions in recent memory. A new confinement that would paralyse business activity would have catastrophic and irreversible consequences, the country's main business lobby CEOE said in a statement. Psychologists have also sounded the alarm, pointing to the many in Spain who continue to grapple with the impact of a lockdown that initially barred residents from leaving their homes to walk or exercise and which forced most children to remain in their homes for 6 weeks. So Spain warned of a dire impact of a second lockdown, if that's what they're thinking of doing, on business of course, and on people's mental health, which has been one of the forgotten topics of this pandemic. And I would have to agree that a second lockdown has to be avoided at all costs. Now some news on the economy, and it is that the European Commission has 21.3 billion euros from the Shore Fund for Spain to pay for the ERTE or furlough scheme. Only Italy, with 27.4 billion, surpasses Spain in the amount of aid. In total, the Commission has accepted plans worth 81.4 billion of the 100 billion planned. The European Commission gave the go-ahead on Monday for Spain to receive a loan worth up to 21.3 billion euros to meet the costs of the ERTEs within the framework of SURE, a temporary European instrument to support member states to mitigate the risk of job destruction during the COVID-19 crisis, which the Council has yet to give the green light to. So some good news there for the government, finally able to get a bit of cash, and hopefully some of the people that haven't been paid yet for whatever reason are able to get their hands on much needed cash. Now another European country came out yesterday and advised against travel to all parts of Spain. Remember that various countries had advised against travel to certain parts of Spain, but the Netherlands came out yesterday and advised against travelling to all parts of Spain, including the Canary Islands. So another blow there to an industry which, according to this headline, is in deep trouble. While most of the country is again considered a coronavirus risk area, the Canary Islands are hopeful for the winter season. Still, the Spanish economy needs to rethink its strong reliance on tourism. So the tourism industry in Spain in deep trouble, and maybe it is time to rethink the reliance that the country has on tourism. So we'll see if any ideas for a change are put on the table. However, it's not all doom and gloom for the tourist industry in some parts of the country. We can see here places in Spain where tourism has worked in the worst summer in history. They're normally destinations with national demand, those in the north of the country and some inland areas. Although tourism is going through its blackest summer this year due to the health crisis, especially due to the low arrival of international tourists, there are destinations that are managing to avoid the debacle and in which the activity continues and where the summer picture does not differ so much from last year's. There are the rural areas, supposedly less exposed to contagion, the northern regions of the country, which are the least crowded. They are, in short, the destinations to which Spaniards traditionally go to spend the summer. So there we go. Tourist destinations which depend on local tourism really haven't seen a problem, but it's been those international destinations, the Benidorms, the Balearic Islands, the Canary Islands, which have been affected the most. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from the last video. One here from Guillermo: false information or not, where is the free speech? Twitter shouldn't do this type of persecutions no matter how false the information is. Yeah, Guillermo, thanks for your input. This comment relates to something that I mentioned yesterday about the Spanish singer Miguel Bosé, who has recently had his Twitter account suspended for spreading what many believe to be false information about the current health situation in Spain and the world. And of course, in recent times, there have been many people on social media that have had their accounts deleted, their accounts suspended because of the information that they are putting forward. Is it a violation of free speech? Should these companies have the right to take this information off their platforms? That's the question. I think there's a very fine line on what people should and shouldn't be able to put on social media. Obviously, there has to be some type of control over hate speech, and obviously there has to be some type of control of encouraging people to break the law, go out into the street and do things that could put other people at risk because of those actions. And that's probably one of the reasons why his account was suspended. One here from Matt Cat: thanks, Stuart. We always look forward to your reports, and although we are back here in the Antipodes, We wish for all our sakes we could be over there. Yeah, thanks for the comment, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people down in places like Australia and New Zealand at the moment that wish they could be having a European holiday. People all around the world that wish that they could hop on a plane and travel to some type of international destination. But unfortunately, it's impossible at the moment, and all we can do is wish and hope that things change in the future. Because I, for one, would also like to think that in the near future, I'd be able to hop on a plane if I wanted to and go back and visit my family. One here from Michael, all BS and you know it. Yeah, Michael, thanks for the comment. I wish it was all BS, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to be the case. I know that it's something that a lot of people would like to think, that this is all a big lie, that it's all a joke, that there's some type of secondary plot going on out there, but unfortunately I don't think that's true, and unfortunately I don't think that it is BS. One here from Marathul, I have a ferry booked for Portsmouth to Santander in mid-September so that I can drive to Estepona in order to empty a storeroom of a property I recently sold. I'm told even if the ferry still runs, I may well be turned back at various borders on the drive down. Is this a possibility that would make the journey very tricky? Yeah, Marathul, it's only going to be tricky if there is a nationwide lockdown again and they restrict travel between the autonomous communities in Spain, something similar to what happened in March, April, May, where people couldn't travel from one place to another. For example, if you were in Madrid, you couldn't travel to the neighboring autonomous community. It was impossible to do because there were travel restrictions. So if that happens again, and I say if that happens again, you might have a problem. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think that the lockdowns are going to be localized. There might be a lockdown in a city like Madrid, but you should still be able to travel through Madrid on your way down to Estepona. Another problem could be that Estepona is locked down and they might not let you in. But all of these are just hypothetical situations, and I think that mid-September should still be okay to travel from the north to the south of the country with no restrictions. One here from Elaine. Hi, I was wondering if you could help me with a question. I've been living permanently in Mallorca for 21 years and I have the permanent green residence card. I've read that I don't need to do anything, but some people say I need a new card, TIE. I've called various numbers, but I can't seem to get through to anyone. Can you help? Love your videos. Thanks. Yeah, Elaine, thanks for the comment. I'm not an expert on this topic because, of course, I don't come from the United Kingdom and I don't have one of those big green residency cards, which a lot of people do. I have the little small residency card, and that's probably what you're talking about. However, I did read the other day that the British Embassy in Spain said that people don't need to change that. However, I can't confirm it, but hopefully somebody in the comment section will be able to do that. But a simple thing could be to ring the embassy and find out exactly what you need to do. One here from UME. Hello Stuart, I am an expat in Madrid and love watching your updates. Could you shed some light on buying a property to live in Madrid or its surroundings at this COVID time? Is this crisis going to bring the prices down significantly like the last crisis of 2008, whose full effect on the property prices was seen 3 or 4 years down the line? Should one wait to get a better deal? Thanks. Yeah, thanks for the comment. All I can say is that this crisis is not similar to the one in 2008. In 2008, there was a property bubble and there was an excess of housing in Spain. I'm not sure how many excess houses there were at that time, but I think it was in the millions because the construction industry was out of control. This is not the case this time round, so I don't think it's going to be similar in that regard. However, we are going to have an economic crisis, and it could be that a lot of people have to sell their homes or the banks repossess homes as people can't keep up with their mortgage payments, and that could mean that it's going to be a good time for buying. However, I will say that Spanish people normally try to hold on to their homes at all costs, and selling for a lot of people will be a last resort. People sometimes prefer to stop eating before selling their property, so keep that in mind. One here from Blood Carver. Stamps? Who the hell uses snail mail anymore? Oh wait, this is Spain. Let's face it, Spain lags heavily behind when it comes to internet-based services. Yeah, Blood, thanks for the comment. Not sure if Spain lags that far behind. I do know that internet connections in Spain are very, very good, especially if you compare them to Australia, for example, where internet connections up until recently, and probably still are, pretty bad in comparison. Spain, in my opinion, has very good internet connections, especially in big cities. It might differ if you're in the Canary Islands or in a remote part of the country, but in Madrid, for example, Barcelona, you can get a very fast internet connection, uploading and downloading. And I, for example, can upload these videos that I do and other videos that I do very quickly. So in that sense, the internet works well. Is the government fully on board with internet services? Probably not. they're probably lagging behind a little bit, and I don't know whether they are going to change anytime soon. So that could be what you're talking about. One here from Rick Stewart. What is a punter? If I heard you correctly, that is. I can guess based on the context, but it's not a word you would hear in Canada, except maybe in the context of North American football, where the person kicking the ball is referred to as the punter. Hopefully our punter is not one of your punters. Yeah, Rick, thanks for the comment. The word punter has a lot of different meanings. I have heard of the word punter used in American football for the person that comes onto the field and kicks the ball. However, the other day I was using it to refer to a customer, in particular a type of customer that frequents a brothel. And you can see here it's an expression that's used in the UK for a customer, a user of services or a buyer of goods. And it's also slang for a person who uses the service of a prostitute. And you can also use it for somebody who bets on a horse race or on a football game or something along those lines, somebody who has a punt. But the sense the other day was a customer, and I probably picked that expression up because I spent half of my youth watching British television series like Only Fools and Horses and Minder, where they use those words quite a lot. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. See you in the next one. Hasta luego.